Okie dokie. Way over here on the left side of Atlantis spaceship, we've got Empire Koss being put in now for Empire to replace Braddock, who just got taken out by this guy. It is the Light Blue Protoss Verdi up on the top spawn of Atlantis spaceship.
All right, so Verdi has performed well in Team League so far. He was brought in specifically for IPTL Season 1 by Karont3 on loan. And he's won 4 games in a row and hasn't lost one. So that's a pretty good performance.
That's right. He's got the best efficiency of actually no, who just got an all kill yesterday? Wasn't in the parting over all of Prime. I think parting actually has the best record right now with that 5 wins and
did he come in the match against IM?
I don't know if he did because
Curious cleaned up, and then I forgot who the other players were. I know we saw Squirtle. I know we saw
Noblesse. Oh wait, that was a different
anyway,
match.
But we'll take a look at that during the break. But I don't think parting came in.
I don't think he did.
I could be wrong.
Anyway.
Yes.
Verdi obviously off to a nice start in the Contender division. We're talking, of course, about Premier division with parting in that, so he could actually just be the strongest player in Contender division so far. Actually, Johnny Rico got 4 kills as well. So, I mean, these guys, there are some superstars in this division, and Verdi actually making pretty good presence here so far for Karont3.
Well, we'll see if he can keep the ball rolling. Koss is and Braddock is super good, one of the best foreign Terran players out there. But Koss is always that guy you talk about when you're talking about the best foreign Terran player. He is ridiculous. He is amazing, and he is on par with with some of the very best players in the world. And at any given point in time, he can jump out and have a dominating performance. So this is a very scary player for Empire to send out at this point, especially before players like Lucifron and Vortex have shown themselves.
Well, that's right, but I mean, at least now, if the super strong Koss can take out Verdi, at least Karont3 is getting it at a time where they're at an okay position to say, okay, do we want to send Vortex or do we want to send Lucifron against him?
Yeah.
Or they have actually some decisions still left to make. Koss isn't playing cleanup for Empire. He's not their ace this time around. So it looks like players like Happy are still in reserve, and they have a Zerg player on Empire too, don't they? Well, I may have been thinking of Violet.
We've seen Aristio a lot actually pop up in Team League situations for Empire, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him either.
So they do still have some options as well.
And Verdi actually opened up with double gas before Cybernetics Core, and he opened up in a way that was similar initially to Protoss players have been playing it in PvP, which was just 2 on each gas and build up to Blink Stalkers a bit earlier on. But it does offer you flexibility, and we see it now, Verdi actually going for 3 gas immediately afterwards on each of those. So he will actually have a pretty considerable amount of gas built up if he wants to tech off of 1 base.
And if he does, maybe he should proxy a Stargate, because I hear that does pretty well.
No, that never works.
Empire Terrans. No, I'm just kidding. Atlantis spaceship does not actually have any destructible debris or rocks anywhere on the map, I believe. So can't actually kind of repeat that performance. He could maybe potentially use the neutral supply depot to charge up on later, but either way, he's not doing that, so it doesn't matter.
This is what I thought he was going to do last time. It was just a sentry expand. You get that extra earlier gas. Look at this. That is a bold zealot.
Yeah, he is. He's doing work, though. He's actually taking a lot of bullets to the face now, though.
Hey, I played this challenge before. You have 2 Marines and there's 1 zealot, but
But in that challenge, you can literally just drag 1 Marine around and the other one stays in the middle and doesn't even have to micro at all.
Yeah, that's true, because it just follows only one of them. So
lovely AI in this game.
Yep. So maybe Koss is a little bit better at that. Fine, just shoot me down. Well, anyway, the gateways did come up for Verdi on, I believe it was 30 supply, so it's gateways before Robo, but so he doesn't feel like he has to get in and see exactly what his opponent is doing, because he had the great Zealot Scout not too long ago. Right. He didn't see any gas, but he can kind of expect that they're going to be there after 3 racks.
All right, and with those 3 racks, obviously he's making 3 Marines at a time. I'm not sure, did he get any upgrades rolling? I don't even see Combat Shield or Stim.
No, he has no add-ons
yet. No add-ons yet, okay, so he's still just harvesting gas. Pretty fresh here. He needs to probably get started on that, or at least figure out where he wants to go at this point. There's a tech lab. I'm expecting reactors on the other 2.
Whoa, and a 3rd Nexus coming out of Verdi right away. Are we going to see that parting style huge gateway push? He's going to make a lot of sentries here because of the excess gas. If he decides to tech, I guess there's a possibility he could tech, but this is not a bad map for that big 8-gate push that we saw out of parting. although a little bit of deviation already.
Yeah, as you're speaking, the robotics facility is going to come up, so he could still go for 8 gates and just pop out a warp prism and an observer or something like that. And I mean, he's still got that option, especially with this third nexus. There is a Twilight Council hologram, or whatever you want to call it, silhouette already. There it is, right above the robotics facility. So he's going kind of different directions here. Blink and an observer would be one possible connection here.
Yeah, that's very true, and I like the Stalker sitting here as well. He keeps a great eye on what's going on. Verity is known to be a pretty aggressive player, and Koss doesn't want to take any chances, so he already has 2 full bunkers up at the front to prepare for any sort of aggression.
Yep, as everything gets finished, obviously the first unit out of the robotics facility is pretty important. It is going to be an observer this time around. Robotics Bay actually being added on very quickly as well, so that actually makes me more curious about the Twilight Council now, because he is getting the base so quickly. He's going to need a lot of gas committed to that, so the fact that the Twilight Council is up, does he have a forge? Does he have upgrades even going yet? I don't think it's for that.
Let's see here. We do have no, we don't have a forge yet. So he's just investing into his forces at the moment. So we'll see if he decides to go straight into Colossi. He already has a pretty good amount of workers. Third base coming out now for Koss, but that is considerably farther behind his opponent than he would imagine.
That's right. He actually needs to. Well, he just tried to scout and couldn't, but the robotics bay being finished now, Verdi is going to go check out everything that Koss has on the ground. He will be able to see it in just a few moments if he continues on. There is a Colossus actually being produced for Verdi now, and no extended thermal lances yet. Still nothing out of that Twilight Council. I'm really curious what he's going to be using it for. There's extended thermal lances now.
We already have a Ghost Academy coming up for Koss, so we'll see what he plans to do with that here, but he's certainly going to need to invest into his Vikings pretty early on, but I like the fact that he's going to have EMPs available. There's finally Double Forge, and we'll start to see multiple upgrades being produced, and honestly, the upgrades are going to be pretty close for our 2 players, with Verdi with a slight advantage. Even though +1 weapons is finishing up for Koss right now, he only now has, I believe, his 2nd engineering bay finishing up, or building. Yeah, so it's going to be a while before you can start 2-2, of course.
Yeah, I think the Ghost Academy is a wise decision for Koss. Obviously, that's going to allow him to EMP a little bit earlier on before things are a problem. There are no Immortals out, but obviously EMPing Sentries is going to be massive when dealing with Colossi. If you have a ton of bio and you can't get to the Colossus to kill it, that can be an issue. So EMP definitely going to be a super important feature of the battles coming up.
72 workers at 10 minutes and 39 seconds. That is staggering.
Yep, he's got Chrono Boost on his side. He is getting some super high-tech units out now, while Koss is still investing in a lot of bio, but he is actually sprinkling in some ghosts now. We see 3 ghosts in production, and the armory just got finished, so he can continue his upgrades once he gets to that point. Blink is coming up now for Verdi, so he's going to get a nice mix of Blink Stalkers, Tier 1 forces, and those Colossi.
Verdi hasn't gone in very far with this Observer, which I'm not really sure why that's the case. Well, now he's going to get a perfect read on his opponent. He sees that the ghosts are making their way out as well, and he's got to be a little bit happy because he knows he has a lot of Colossi, not a lot of units that are going to get picked off by EMP. He's going to need to start buffering the ground forces. The thing that he's sacrificed to get to this point, all this great infrastructure, all these great upgrades, all this awesome stuff has come at the expense of gateways.
Right.
He is making 6 at the same time, admittedly, but he only had 3 until just a second ago.
That's right. Unit count is going to be very important, especially as Koss is going to be the attacker this time around. He's going to head up there with ghosts already in tow. They, have plenty of energy for EMP because he's been cranking them out all along. Three ghosts started as soon as he possibly could, so they do have some energy on him. Blink is not going to be done by the time Cass arrives. Actually, no, he's going to turn around. He didn't like what he saw with his scouting factory, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, he sees the amount of Colossi that are already on the field, 3 of them by this stage of the game. I'm sure is going to give him pause. Yeah, already starting into his Vikings, and now's a pretty good time, honestly. Well, no, honestly, Verdi is setting up for the Charge Light Archon switch, but I don't dislike the decision to continue powering ahead with Colossi because he already knows that there's ghosts in the army, and that's exactly what will counter out a big Charge Light Archon force.
True enough. Templar Archive is going to help him out as the scouting factory just kind of floats around. It is obviously going to be taken out. Another starport being added on now by Koss. Doesn't want to have to lose this factory and then have to rebuild another one super fast, so another starport getting constructed is a good idea. Vikings 2 at a time coming out now to try and deal with these Colossi, and both players still not not being aggressive, just taking all these different points on the map. Even Koss now taking the super high Vespene base toward the center.
2-2 upgrades on the way now for Verity, and even though Koss is going to have +2 weapons done, he's not started +1. Oh, there we go. Finally, +2 armor is finally coming up, but 2-2's well underway now for Koss. So this is about as passive as games get, honestly. We've been sitting on 3 bases forever. We've got very well-developed, high-tech, maxed armies at the 14-minute mark, and really it's just going to be a big clash.
Yeah, once everything kind of smashes into each other, we'll be able to get a better idea of how these forces are going to be controlled, who's going to be the aggressor, who's going to have the better unit control with Blink. Verity does have the option to keep these units alive a little bit longer. Obviously, force field control is going to be very important. And with Templar out on the field now as well, Psystorm isn't done yet, but that could come into play as well. I think Verity's got the more micro-intensive army. Koss really just wants to try and land some EMPs as fast as he can, and then try to envelop Verity's forces.
And we finally do have a good buffer of resources saved up for Verity at the moment. He's producing more gateways as well, so let's go ahead and take a look at the count real quick before these armies clash. He's got a few there. He's got a few down here as well, so a total of 15 along with the base down in the bottom right-hand corner. So we'll be able to very quickly reproduce a large force of charge lots, but he's a bit short on gas at the moment.
All right, with these 4 Colossi, obviously a big thing is going to be trying to keep them alive. You can see the EMP damage there, stripping the shields off of a bunch of units. Guardian Shield is still going to go up from the sentries, though, right before this orbital can flip over. The Vikings are trying to do their damage to the Colossi. They do manage to snag one of them. Storm finishes during the encounter, and it looks like Verity is on the retreat, actually, already.
Control from Koss has been great. He's really handled this efficiently, picking off 1 Colossus, not taking any storm damage, and keeping pretty much his whole force intact. He did stim up once and needs to replenish that with these medevacs, but he hasn't lost too many Vikings, and he's done pretty well for himself.
All right, with a ton of minerals saved up from Verity, he could actually just do 2 big waves of Zealots again and try to crash in there and, you know, let the Zealots charge in, pin the Marines and Marauders in place as long as he can. What has happened? He just killed all his Colossi to make room for more Stalkers and Zealots.
That's right. He just wants to completely neutralize the amount of Vikings that are on the map, and I'm sure these Vikings are probably wondering, what in God's name just happened? And all the Vikings get destroyed without being able to pick off targets. However, the front line of forces did go down for Verity and needs to replenish that force very quickly. Koss is a little bit slower to reproduce his army.
I really don't know how I feel about what just happened there, because if he had the Colossi alive, they would have gotten a few sweeps. They would have got some sweeps before going down to the Vikings, and this is a lot of bio. Replacing with, you know, a few Stalkers and Zealots is nice, but he could have at least let the Colossi do what they could. He could have sent them in. He could have just walked them into the Vikings and Marines and killed a bunch of Marines still. So I feel like maybe that was a little bit of a hasty decision from Verity.
Yeah, it's kind of cute, but of course it does force the hand of Koss once again, and he's going right back into personal cloaking and 6 ghosts at a time. So quality over quantity right now, as he's a bit slower on the rest of his unit production, just wants to get a ton of ghosts on the field. All
right, another EMP lands, hitting the shields of quite a... I mean, look at all these units without shields. This is so much DPS, if you think about it, from 1 EMP. If you land it right in the center of these units, the damage is actually crazy to the shields of the Protoss units. EMP, I feel like, obviously should be used in every TVP matchup. We still don't see it in some of these pro-level games.
I'm a little surprised Verity's not just taking like 4 Nexuses right now. Yeah. He still has enough money that even if a good portion of his army goes down, he'll be able to replenish it very quickly. Oh, does he have any observers overhead? No. I don't think he does. These ghosts could do a lot of damage. Looks like they're just trying to run up as quickly as possible to make sure that they can finally pick off a couple High Templar, but no. Storm's actually hitting and covering the retreat of units. Koss full stims up and loses a couple units of his own.
Yeah, those ghosts didn't want to be cloaked for so long that they didn't have enough energy for more EMPs. Again, that's just a crazy amount of damage, and with Archons continually hitting the field, EMP is just a massive tool to be able to use against those big Archon forces. Planetary Fortress for Koss here is still not utilizing the high yield Vespene guys. Over here we go, we're crashing in again. Only a single Colossus there, and he is actually still prone to attack from those Vikings.
Oh, bad position with the Zealots. He needed to blink some of those Stalkers to the back or something, but more than half of the Zealots were just stuck there and waiting around while the front line just got demolished. The Colossus goes down very quickly as well. The EMPs have just been on point for Koss, and now he's forcing this army back. pretty bad positioning there, unfortunately, for Verdi.
Yeah, look at this, just a sea of units from Koss, just kind of, you know, bumping along next to each other. There's no Storm on the field right now. I mean, there were some Templar a while ago, but he hasn't actually been reproducing those. He's been using them just to make them right into Archons, not waiting for more energy. And that is a ton of ghosts. Holy crap, 20 ghosts on the field just in this spot. He's got 24 total on the map.
That's right, and they're starting to catch up right now. So almost a pure ghost army. Finally, 3 Colossi at a time are being produced, but those ghosts are just going to tear through the charge lots up at the front.
Yeah, especially if they make use of the snipe ability and, you know, land an EMP, land a ton of snipes. Suddenly there's no more charge lots. You can land more EMPs, obviously, on the casters and the Archons to neutralize them, but these Stalkers not being controlled super well. They're just going to walk past the Planetary Fortress and get killed, but that's okay. Koss is going to scan repeatedly, figure out exactly where these units are, and just run forward with everything. 2 pages of ghosts.
Yeah, 26 ghosts in total coming up into this army. You see how quickly the Zealots, everything just melting away. Verdi trying to reproduce it as fast as he can. I have to think that if he had more gas income right now with additional bases, that he could just reproduce on almost pure Archons and Colossi at this point. Maybe even add in a Mothership or something along those lines, because his late game army just seems so weak compared to this amount of ghosts.
Oh wow, look at the Observers actually got caught in one of the EMPs and they all got taken out. Didn't even have to use a scan. That was just unfortunate for Verdi, flying all those Observers directly into the EMP. And now Koss with a huge standing force still out in the middle of the map, made primarily of these ghosts that do crazy good damage with the EMP, and they just have really high single target DPS anyway. Koss actually might need to reinvest. Yeah, he is actually making 4 Vikings at a time at the moment to be able to deal with these Colossi that Verdi is switching back into.
Now, Verdi still does have a pretty stout force himself. He's not taken even a single hit to his economy the entire game, although he could probably distribute his probes a little bit better, and he needs to get more gas going so we can replenish on more Templar when the time comes. But, you know, as it stands, Koss is still looking very good. He's moved up to his 5th base. He's got a 6th command center that's finished up too, so he was fine with sacrificing a few workers because he had 13 mules at a time coming down.
Yeah, 13 mules obviously can gather a lot of minerals, as you can see in the income. These Colossi are going to be the main target here for Koss. Once they're dealt with by these Vikings, he can continue to just roll through with a lot of EMPs and that very high DPS army that he has, stimming everything else. There you go. No Storms to be seen anywhere. All the Zealots, you can see those little blue flames as they are sent back to Ire, and all these Stalkers are going to get finished off as well.
Yep, and Koss just crashes through that force. He's got additional Vikings where he may not want them necessarily. Does he know about this base? No, he was thinking about taking it for himself, but unfortunately, that's our first base kill here, and bye-bye.
Yeah, this is a ton of DPS. The Vikings obviously now are going to be a little less useful, but there are 2 Colossi. No, Verdi canceling both of the Colossi, going for High Templar instead. The Vikings can still be landed and still provide quite a lot of damage once Koss realizes that there are no Colossi in the forces of Verdi anymore. So he can continue to roll through here. It looks like he is probably just going to be satisfied with this base. He's actually floating, it looks like a command center, yeah, over to Verdi's own half of the map.
Yeah, but it looks like he's going to get a Nexus down just before that command center lands. It'd be funny if he like floated it down right here and just turned it into a planetary fortress or something like that.
That would be fun. Let's do that.
I like it. The probes come back like, wait a second, that's no fun anymore.
All right, so someone just walking around in our office with a giant pom-pom.
Yes!
Either way, he's doing a planetary fortress, like you said.
I'm so happy.
Why is he doing? No, just kidding. Look at this command center getting shut down by probes. They are the most lethal worker because their shields regenerate. No, I'm just making that up. Obviously, we do have lots of Bioforces still. Look at the Marauder count. He's just been dumping into Marauders this whole time. Storm blindly, not going to connect with the Ghosts. This Planetary Fortress, he could cancel it actually and still just float it over to the proper point.
No, he should keep it there.
Sure,
Planetary Fortress is everywhere. That should be Koss's strategy from here on out. He does have a really big advantage right now. Koss has done magnificently. I mean, Verdi really pulled off this 3 Nexus style well at the very beginning of the game. That was a ton of mules that just dropped down. But ever since then, Koss has just been in control. I mean, as soon as he deflected that attack down at the bottom, he has been on point.
Yeah, and he's actually just going to look for tech buildings, and actually, no, valuable robotics facilities, even though he hasn't used them in a little while. Cybernetics Core is obviously a very good target. It means no more Stalkers and Sentries can be built, so right now he's literally limited to Zealots and those Templar to make Archons.
All right, well, heals up, trying to move in one more time. Zealots are really, really good against Marauders, but there's probably too many here. Yeah, it looks like even though they're able to take a couple of those out pretty cost efficiently, that's about it. Koss going to take out this base at the same time that Verity's running down the map, and he's going to force a base trade, but this Koss has already taken out 2 bases here, with the third going down in just a second, and this favors him. He can just lift up, pull back to his opponent's side of the map, and crush that force in due time, and that's exactly what he's going to do.
That force of Koss is just massive. You can see it on the map, taking its time, invading Atlantis spaceship, heading back home. But this little strike force from Koss is just taking out every pylon, preventing more warp-ins, preventing these gateways from being able to warp anything in, and limiting the supply, obviously. But look at this, just massive force from Koss. He's not even really too concerned about it. Still just taking pylons out with these Marauders. Once he finally gets everything balled up, he can move in there and try to stomp this out for good.
Yeah, so Verity's down to just 2 bases now, unfortunately. Here come the rest of the forces from Koss, and he's going to try and engage this head-on. Are the storms going to be good enough?
EMPs.
Oh, I
EMP
like
lands.
Yeah, the force field up in the front,
Look at the
too.
High Templar.
But, yeah, all the High Templar. Well, a few of them are down. 3 of them still have energy.
All right, so, yeah, the force field obviously is going to keep him out for just a moment, but here we go. Now that everything is in, the Vikings are actually drawing some fire for the extremely high DPS army on the ground. These Zealots are not going to last very long. Storms being dropped on not a whole lot. Vikings actually being limited there and targeted down, but I don't think Koss minds that much if those die. GG from Verity as the last of his army gets disintegrated.
Oh, a very passive macro game there where it was kind of big armies smashing against each other the entire time, but it does end up favoring Koss in the end, and he once again gives Empire an advantage.
All right, Empire's up 3-2, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. It's kind of interesting that Koss came out as the 3rd player for Empire, because now it gives Karont3 the opportunity to figure out, do they want to use Lucifron, do they want to use Vortex against this amazing Terran player?
Well, there are, of course, 2 players left for Karont3, so you'd have to assume that one of the brothers are coming in, and it is indeed, it's going to be Vortex. So the guy who was actually the runner-up at WCS Europe, he was 3rd place at WCS Spain, he was top 8 at DreamHack Valencia, so this guy has a lot of tournament success recently, and we're going to see if he can take down Koss. It looks like he is going to pick Entomb Valley as his map.
You did actually forget one other thing that Vortex has done in recent memory, and that is all killing Empire.
That's right. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, they did that in the qualifier grounds for TAC 3, I believe, or maybe they met in TAC 3. I can't actually remember. I think they met in TAC 3
and Vortex all killed
Empire. Yes. So rematch time.
All right. Well, Vortex obviously has success against Empire. We're going to see if he has it now, or if Koss can actually put Empire just 1 game away from taking the set. We're going to run to a commercial break, and we'll be back after this.